All right, looks like we're okay. All right, it looks like I am live for now. Not sure if anyone can hear me, if everyone can hear me. Um, Hopefully the video isn't too bad. I've discovered that I need to buy a whole new computer just for live streaming. Live streaming takes a lot of computing power, and even though my laptop can handle all the video editing I do, it can handle a lot of stuff. It was a really high-end model back in 2016, only 4 years ago. Um, it seems to die whenever I do these live streams. So I've been tweaking the settings, trying to see if I could lower the resolution, lower the bit rate, and when I do that, it tends to go crazy. So, but it looks like it's doing okay for now. So what's going on is those of you on Patreon, whenever you say something, I have to look down at my phone to see your comments, and then those of you from the YouTube channel, you'll be in the live chat. I haven't found a way to kind of combine the two together yet. Like you both are watching the stream and you're both engaging. The only difference is I have to look down at my phone to acknowledge. I appreciate the comment, Mike, saying that you're here, so I know that I'm not talking to myself. That's a good thing. So just a little bit about past week. Just the whole Nexstar fiasco. For those of you that saw the video I posted about Nexstar Media Group pretty much taking their channels off Dish Network and telling their viewers that Dish pulled them, pretty much lying to their viewers in order to get more retransmission revenue. Really, really, really pissed me off to say the least. Like I always get aggravated every time these retransmission disputes happen. I see people blame the provider, saying, "Oh, DirecTV's horrible, Dish Network's horrible." Yeah, they are bad, but like the reason why it's being increased is because of the station themselves and not the provider. So I actually stopped by my mom's house earlier today to hook her up a small indoor antenna, so she was able to keep 22 and 28 WBRE and WYOU, both Nexstar stations in the Scranton Wilkes-Barre market that she watches frequently. Both were pulled from Dish, so which is that's pretty absurd in my opinion. If you don't have access to CBS and NBC on a paid provider because the big company is holding it hostage, that's a big problem. So that's mainly what my mind's been on. I've been trying really hard to spread the video, spread awareness of what's going on because I see way too many people blame the provider. And if they blame the provider, the system never changes. They just, call the provider and say, bring our channels back. And then the provider has to give in to the rate increase and gets passed on to their bill. And then maybe they go to YouTube TV, and YouTube TV is the same thing. At one point, I don't know if any of you have YouTube TV, but you will see channels get pulled from there at some point, and it's the same reason because the retransmission revenue is trying to be increased. So, all right, guys. So if there's anything you want to talk about, feel free to drop it in the comments section or in the live chat. I will, so we can kind of steer the conversation to whatever you guys would like to talk about. Um, just on my mind was the whole Nexstar thing, and that kind of annoyed me. But that's less about antennas, and I do appreciate all of you who have shared my videos because of that. I know it's not as antenna related as you think, but it does have to do with the high cost of cable and satellite and kind of driving people towards antennas. That's why I made the video. I made the video to kind of show people what's really going on and hoping that they will go to antennas, realizing that their local, you know, the local, not the local owner, but the corporate owner of the local TV stations is using them as pawns to jack up their retransmission fees. So, all right, yeah, if any of you want to just drop a comment what you want to talk about. I'm also going to just take a quick look at my YouTube stream just to kind of get an idea on what it's like. I know you guys are patiently dealing with whatever problems there are in this live stream, but I'm just kind of curious myself to see what it looks like, if I'm a frozen image or if it's buffering. So far off the image I see, it looks like it's doing okay. I'm sure it's going to freeze at times. Yeah, I'm going back about like a minute back and it's frozen a little bit. I'm still tweaking the settings. I really believe because I have a really good laptop, and I don't see why it just doesn't like live streaming. Like everything else is fine, so it makes me think that there's like an internal issue going on. All right, so there's some buffering going on, and I'm sorry, I've been trying so hard. This is one of the reasons why I don't do live streams on the main channel anymore, is because I've just had so many problems trying to do them. It just seems like to no end. Every time I try, I work real hard to make it better, and it just gets worse. I mean, don't you just love technology? So I'll hang tight and see if any of you have any questions or want to steer the conversation anywhere. I'm just kind of seeing if it's giving me a buffering thing, because on my end I'm seeing a buffering and I don't know why it's showing that. I don't know if my internet went out or if it's just showing it on the preview. So all right, yeah, it looks like it's still good. I'm gonna do this just a wave to see how much the delay is for everyone. All right, looks like I got a comment. Oh, Michael, so the video has been fine. See, what YouTube does is it shows me like a little window on like a preview window. And right now it's just a spinning wheel, which almost gives the impression that it's not showing anything. But when I look down here, if I go back to the live stream and watch it live, let me go see if I see anything. Of course, I keep disabling the data so that way I'm not using bandwidth doing it. So let me go see. Yeah, looks like it is good. So it's definitely misleading. I'm sure that the video is stopping a little bit, but enough about the video quality. I'm just kind of like a perfectionist when it comes to these kind of things. So next plans of the video, I'm releasing a video this week that is the Stellar Labs Deep Fringe VHF antenna. This is a VHF only antenna, one of the only VHF only antennas on the market. That's designed for high VHF. So most markets that have high VHF stations, it would work pretty well if you're in a very fringe area. I'll tell you guys now, it performed the best out of any antenna I tested out in terms of the high VHF band. So RF channel 7 through 13. This antenna really brought in spectacular results. So I thought that was really cool. So I filmed it before, and I'm just working on editing it now. So that's where I'm at. I'm also still looking. One interesting video that I'm working on is there are still some analog stations in the United States that are still on the air, and I want to pretty much bring an old TV and show it picking up this analog station before they fully go off the air. Now, there was an analog cutoff back in, there were multiple ones, as funny as it sounds. There was the 2009 one, which required full-powered stations to go digital. That's where you saw what you thought was every station go digital. But low-powered stations were exempt from that transition, and originally it was going to be 2012, and then it was 2015, and then they realized, the FCC realized the FCC incentive auction repack would kind of screw things up, and they would have to try to, there's no point in them converting to digital if they had to find a new channel within 2 years, so they let them stay on analog if they wanted to. And the new deadline that seems to be the official total deadline, you are done, you got to be off analog, is July of 2011. It's either the end of June or early July, not 2011, 2021. So the year we're leading into, about 6 months left of analog broadcasting in the United States. And most of you probably think, well, there is no analog broadcasting left. It was supposed to go off the air, but that's not the case. It actually has been going on for a while. In some areas, yes, most areas went to digital, but others pretty much kept their analog signal on. So thought that was cool. Now, just for those of you, I know Paul, I said, you said, I think I see you live. There might be a lot of times if you start, it puts you at the beginning of the live stream. So you may want to take a look and just make sure you're watching it live. I mean, you can watch it on delay if you want to, but I noticed when I clicked on it, it was doing that. So I'm just going to do a test to see how long the delay is. So I'm going to do this, and I'm looking at my phone to see how long it takes for me to see this, because it's so misleading, guys. I am watching a preview window that's just showing me false information. It's saying that my video is buffering and that I have no viewers right now, which I don't think is true. If any of you see dropouts or anything like that, let me know. But looking at my screen, it's just so misleading. It's almost like if you're watching TV and it says no signal, but the picture is still going. You're like, which one is it? For me, it's just looking at the live stream status and just seeing the spinning window with the frozen image. But then I look at my phone and it looks totally fine. So that seems to be okay. But anyway, feel free to let me know if there's anything you guys want to talk specifically about. I can talk about any and everything. It's just a matter of figuring out what I want to talk about because I can go. I don't know if any of you saw. I was on a live stream on Friday night. It was a very last minute thing with this guy called something the Butcher, I believe his name was. He has a YouTube channel with about 10,000 subscribers, and he had been trying to get me to go on his live stream. And pretty much what happened was it was a very last minute thing, and I talked for about an hour or two about my channel, and we just discussed a few things. So I do have that. If you're on Patreon or if you're a YouTube channel member, if you go to my main YouTube page, there should be a on the community tab. I should have a post that shows the video. It was very last minute, as I said. It was like to the hour where I figured out, okay, I can be on this live stream with this guy. So that was pretty cool. My one friend is funny. My one friend's texting me about live streaming because I asked him, I'm having issues live streaming. Do I need a new computer or do I just have to change the settings? Based on my what I'm looking at, it looks like it's pretty good. Mike says the video. I think you said this earlier. The video has been fine for you, so that's pretty cool. I just keep looking because I can't tell you how much it annoys me to see, just the spinning wheel. I wonder if I change this. If I do this, if it will change, but it was pretty much just show me, okay, now it's back to normal. It's not showing me the spinning wheel anymore. That's great. So how's everyone's weekend? Hopefully it was all right. It's been there's not as much to do anymore because of, COVID and all of that. But keep myself busy. I respond to a lot of YouTube comments and all of that. So, works out pretty well. But also trying to do the Pittsburgh test. The problem is it's really cold now to show ATSC3 in Pittsburgh. It's just freezing. And I worry about going out to Pittsburgh and getting caught in a storm. So that I think I mentioned in the last live stream that I will be testing out ATSC3 in Pittsburgh. I do have the tuner now. I just haven't had the opportunity to do it. I was going to do it a few weeks ago, and then my friend who was going to host me, he wasn't able to host me after that point. So that's something. But yeah. So does anyone want to talk about anything? Or you just want me to go my own way? And I can't tell how much of a delay there is, unfortunately. So I can't tell if, for example, I say, what do you guys want to talk about? Might take 10 seconds for me to get a response, or it might take 30 seconds to respond. Yeah, Mike, I don't have the YouTube. I don't have it on my main YouTube channel. I have it for the channel members, and I made a separate tab to this link because otherwise I had to do two separate live streams, which I don't mind doing two separate live streams, but I really like the engagement with both, my patrons on Patreon and then for the for YouTube live streams. So. Yeah, all right. So it looks like the delay isn't that bad. It's probably only a few seconds. I can't tell. You guys gotta. I just see the spinning wheel and a frozen image, and any 99% of people, and even myself, would see it and just think it's not loading and it's not giving anything to the viewers. But it obviously is because you guys are seeing me fine. I'm sure there's a few times that I freeze up, but that's to be expected. The irony is it's kind of chilly in my room. I just got back from my mom's and setting up the antenna, and I didn't have the heat on, so it's pretty cold, and I think that's helping the computer speed because it's not as loud as it usually is when I try doing the live stream. So yeah, that's what's going on now. Antennas. I recently set up the Televis long range mix antenna up on my roof. And it did very well for UHF. I mean, it did a stellar job for it. The only thing was, and it was hard for me to tell, So it was very windy yesterday when I was testing it out, and I didn't officially test it out for the channel. I just kind of went up there to see what it's like. And there's two VHF channels I have trouble picking up at my new location, formerly WBRE and WYOU 22 and 28 for those of you who watch my videos. The old Channel Master, when I had it up, it was barely getting, both stations. So when I put the Televis up, I wasn't getting them either. So it made me think, okay, this antenna isn't doing good for VHF. So then I put back up the old Channel Master and then wasn't coming in either. So it made me think, okay, well, the bad weather is obviously affecting the signal, and it would believe me. I know weather affects, changes in atmospheric conditions, change the signal. I would never film on a day where it was very, very windy, very, very, like cloudy or rainy, because those affect, the atmospheric conditions. But and most times when it's like a clear day, there's very minor signal fluctuation, like between like 3 to 5%, depending on how strong or weak the signal is, but it's fairly consistent. So Paul says, what live stream should I be using? I can get on YouTube or his Patreon stream. It doesn't matter what live stream you're on, Paul, because I have this live stream going on both of them. And understand it's not on, so on YouTube, I have channel members. That's kind of like Patreon. I only have a handful of them. So it's not on the main YouTube channel. If you're seeing me on Patreon, or if you're seeing me on this, this private YouTube stream, it doesn't matter which one you're on. I can get your comments and I can see what you're saying. Main reason I haven't done them on the main channel yet is because I'm still trying to figure out the quirks. Figuring out how to not get it to give me these weird error messages and buffer, or in this case now I have pretty much no feedback besides you guys in terms of how the video looks. All I can do is go on the live stream video and then just kind of look at it, which I'm doing now just to see, because it gives me the spinning wheel. That can sometimes happen on a live stream. That's why, it's very misleading, because if you don't have enough of a good connection, it will just give you the spinning wheel and not show you, the lot like it in live time. So going back now, yeah, it's totally fine, but it's such a mind trick, I tell you. It really is. So I just got to ignore it. So you said you don't see some chats that I mentioned. So there is the TK Videography and Photography. I got to make a separate account for the live streaming things now. That's my other business, and I just mainly use it to post stuff. That is the YouTube thing that's going on now. So Paul and John, the chat window you're in, I see on the YouTube studio. And then Michael, and if anyone else is on Patreon, I get a notification when you comment, and it sends it to my phone, and I see what you say. So hold up a clock and I can tell you. That's good. Yeah, no, that's a great idea. So right now it's just turned 5:24. So just turned 5:24, like right on the dot. If I had minutes and seconds, I don't know if I can even get to that. There's always a delay. That's what's interesting. There's always a delay in any video. It's never going to be 100% live unless it's like an analog thing going on. There's always some kind of processing going on. And I think the delay is about 10 seconds, which isn't bad. That's totally fine. But, you never know if you get a buffering. What happens is if YouTube gets backlogged, it'll buffer and then pushes you back. So if it buffers for 30 seconds, there's now a 40-second delay. And then if it buffers for another 20 seconds, then there's about a minute delay, which happened on the main channel. I had it where I would ask a question or just respond to a question, and then I'd see nothing, and then about a minute later, I would see a few things. So, but I am keeping very busy with my YouTube channel. It's gotten to the point where it's almost unmanageable. I'll be honest, it's almost unmanageable, just in terms of everything I do. So I'm not saying that making videos is unmanageable or posting these small things is unmanageable. I love doing that, but what I try to do is I try to respond to every single comment and every single email and at least make an efficient reply. Someone asked me, what antenna do you recommend for 18501? I have this antenna and that antenna on a comment. It's not feasible for me to do that because I just have so many other comments and emails to get to. I just refer them to my website. If they want to sign up for a custom antenna recommendation, they can do that. But it's getting to the point now where I find that I have to choose what I want to do. Like, it's almost like it's not feasible for me to respond to every comment. But then I think about there are a lot of comments that my general knowledge could help people out. I have general people just saying, I lose problems at night. What's the lose channels at night. What's the problem? That answer is simple. I can easily say, you check for LED lights, or you may need a larger antenna. That's, an obvious thing. And then people ask about amplifiers and certain antennas. Those things I like to respond to, and I don't like to, just kind of not look at them and not so much ignore them, but not get to them. So in the past 24 hours, I haven't been able to check my email, and I haven't been able to respond to comments because I've been doing other things. I traveled up to the Poconos to see a friend of mine, and I also helped out my mother with an antenna. So that's where I'm at now, and it's hard because ideally I would like to hire someone to do the manage the comments. Put yourself in my shoes, hire someone to manage the comments. Well, what are they going to do? They're not me. They don't know how to respond to these things, in terms of uh, all these technical questions that very few people understand. And even if they do, what am I going to do? Pay someone $20 for an hour a week to look at the comments? That doesn't sound fair to them. I would almost need to make like a part-time position for someone, but they're limited on what they could do because it's my channel, and there's a lot of things that it's all 100% what happens in my mind that I put for people. And in the editing, even video editing, I have a certain style, and I don't think I could train someone on what to do there because it's all in my mind. I put it in a script, and then I decide what pictures to post and graphics and all of that. So I think I will have to change something. I'm just not sure yet. I might have like a moderator just kind of respond to some general comments and then leave the more technical ones for me. But even then, it's always tricky. So but in the world of antennas, it's kind of cool. Televis is working on well, I can't say what they're working on. I forgot I told them I couldn't say. They're working on some really good stuff in antenna tech. One of the problems with antennas, and I'm not here to knock Channel Master or WineGuard or any of these companies. Everyone has their flaws. I have my flaws. Companies have their flaws. And one of the flaws of antennas is a lot of the designs have been about the same for a while. Like you see the big Yagi style antennas with the very long elements. Most areas don't have low VHF. So it's not to say those antennas are bad, but then the UHF is optimized for up to channel 69, some as high up as the old channels 83. We're now only going to channels 14 through 36. So those elements should technically be a little bit wider to be optimized. And there aren't really many antenna companies out there innovating, making a new antenna for the repack, probably because their antennas are sold worldwide and they don't want to, make an antenna that's optimized for 2 through 36, and then a country needs it for channels 2 through or channels 14 through 69 or whatever. So Televis is, let's just say they're innovating. And it's really cool to see a company innovate like that, to genuinely care about the quality of their product. And again, I'm not saying that the other companies are bad or make crappy antennas. They make decent antennas. But it's almost like you have to, it's good to your customers if you make it as good as possible. Using an antenna design from 10, 20 years ago is not making it as good as possible. Yes, it's going to work better than most of the junk antennas out there. Those giant Channel Masters, the WineGuard 8200U, those are decent antennas, minus the exception of, I'll tell you guys, WineGuard, I'm not a fan of them anymore because of the cartridges. If any of you have a WineGuard antenna, keep an eye on the 75 ohm cartridge that connects the coaxial cable. That sometimes goes bad in a quick amount of time for some people. I've heard some people say they had to replace it after a few years because it's just kind of in there. It lets moisture gets in there very easily, and it's just a flawed design that WineGuard knows about, and they haven't really done much about it. Like they sell replacement cartridges on their website, but it's like you're not really fixing the problem. You're just kind of putting a Band-Aid on it, and then every time the Band-Aid comes off, you just put another Band-Aid on it instead of fixing the problem. So WineGuard antennas, I'm now only recommending the HD707496P for the attic. So when someone asks what antenna should I use for the attic, it's a good antenna. It's not too large. I recommend that one for the attic because if it's not getting all that moisture, the cartridge isn't going to go bad. But if it's going outside, and it's not a guarantee, but there's a chance it may have issues, and I'm not really. I don't appreciate that when I bring it up to the company. I say, listen, you guys really need to fix this, and they just kind of like, yeah, we'll fix it, and they don't fix it. Well, if you don't fix it, I'm not going to recommend you anymore. So that's kind of where I'm at with WineGuard. Channel Master, I'm still great with. I do like their antennas. RCA, technically there is no RCA anymore. It's just the brand being marketed under a different, the brand has been sold to some investment firm. And WineGuard makes a lot of the RCA antennas. So that's technically WineGuard. And those ones don't use a cartridge, they use a balun. And the balun I'm okay with because of the balun, you can clearly see if it breaks off. You just buy one for like $5 and then you're good as new. And they're pretty good at not filling up with water as long as you weatherproof them all right. And I don't know what other main antenna companies there are out there. Antennas Direct. Antennas Direct, I'll be honest, they make good consumer antennas. The only good antenna they have besides that is the DB8E, which is great. It's a UHF antenna with the multiple bays, but they don't have a good selection for people that are more like, if you look at Channel Master's antenna selection, they have a lot of antennas, and it's a great selection. You can get one that's more optimized for high VHF or one that's more optimized for low VHF. But again, they haven't really spent the time to innovate and make an antenna that's like new and optimized. They do what they do is what all antenna companies do, is they'll get like a small flat indoor antenna and put some kind of amplifier on it and say it's a smart amplifier or special booster, blah blah blah. All of these like hype keywords to get people to think it's a really good antenna. But I always tell people the most important aspect of the antenna is the design. It's not necessarily about the booster, it's about the design. And when you have just one small antenna, it's not going to have good VHF capability, and it's just not going to do as well covering. I feel like a good indoor antenna is like the Clearstream 2 Max, or just any antenna with rabbit ears coming out of it. Unfortunately, most of them don't have that, and people learn the hard way, and hopefully they find my channel before they give up on their bad reception and go back to cable or satellite. So, cool. Well, I just saw your comment, Michael, about the. Yeah, I'm definitely within seconds because I did check it on my phone just to see how much of a delay is. I did something like this, and then by the time I opened it up, I saw something else. So yeah, no, it's all been going pretty well. I've just been managing. I don't know if I'll get to my emails tonight and my comments because I know they're desperately needed. I may just bite the bullet and wake up really early tomorrow to take care of them. I hate waking up early. I usually wake up around 9 o'clock because I like sleeping in, but it seems like I don't know if I can sleep in tomorrow because I got all these emails and I got to finish editing that video. I'm letting the Nexstar video ride out now. I'm trying my best to promote it as much as possible. And if I post a new video too soon, people won't see the Nexstar video. The video about Dish Network and DirecTV, it's not necessarily them. It's these big media companies. And it does have to do with the antennas because Nexstar Media Group, they bought the 2 stations in my market and intentionally got rid of the over-the-air repeaters that serviced 4 or 5 towns in Pennsylvania that couldn't get reception. They just took them away. And their signals are not as strong as the other markets that are on UHF. They really did not do a good job, doing their research and improving. They haven't improved their signal since before the transition. They've just let it stay. Now, most other broadcasters have applied for power increases or higher tower heights and new antennas. The stations owned by Nexstar in my area haven't done anything, and it makes sense because they want to keep as many people as possible on cable or satellite and get retransmission fees. So at least that's the way I see it. It would make sense if you look at the numbers and the money. That would make sense from a business standpoint. Hi, so North Mountain Films official account. Thank you for joining me. I'm not sure exactly what your name is, but it looks like that's the name of your business. If you're on the YouTube channel, you can see that TK Videography and Photography is my business that I'm probably going to phase out by the time, next year, 2 years. I'm doing pretty good on YouTube, and I can definitely do that full time instead of filming weddings and events. I do like filming weddings and events, but they kill my weekends, and weekends are supposed to be fun, and it's not fun when you're filming someone else's wedding every time. You get opportunities to do anything else, like go to the beach or spend the weekend with friends and all of that. So, but yeah, things are going good. I'm looking at moving my. So a funny thing about my YouTube studio is it's currently in my sunroom. It's in my sunroom, and it's about 32 degrees out today. So there are certain days where I want to film a video and it's too cold in there, so I have to get like a little space heater and kind of warm it up. But even then, that doesn't warm it up. I'm probably gonna move. I'm working on one of the rooms in my house. It needs like a total rehab. I have to redo the flooring and spackle and paint. But once that's done, I'm probably gonna move the whole setup inside there, and it won't look too much different. I think the lighting will look a little bit better because I'll have more control of it. And I was thinking about changing the red big brick background looks nice, but I think it makes everything too red. And someone had mentioned in one of my YouTube videos that they can't see the antenna on the TV because of the brick background. And I was like, well, that is important. You gotta look for you gotta be able to see the antenna on my YouTube videos, and no one really can because the fake brick background makes it look a little more dark. So I might change it to a white brick background. I think that might look better. And some people may be fooled thinking it's a real background. It's not. It's just a backdrop. So it looks kind of real though if you're looking at me and it's just in the background. So all right. Does anyone have any questions or want to sway the discussion about the just anything about antennas or ATSC3 or just media issues? Anything in particular, let me know. My one friend just sent me a message, so I'm going to respond to that real quick. So if you're watching on the replay, probably be about a minute by the time I get another question, and then I will be back. So I'm just going to respond to my one friend real quick while I'm waiting for it. I was thinking about doing a green screen, Paul, but the problem with green screens is it's very hard to get it perfect. You're either going to have like a halo or the lighting's not going to match. So green screen is hard to do because of lighting issues. So for example, if I have like a spotlight on me, it's very tricky. It's very tricky to like get it matched up. So you got to do a lot of things. And I just feel like if I want to show something, I can show something in the monitor or post it on whatever I want, in editing software compared to having a green screen, having this weird halo effect. I don't think I'd be able to do the best job at it. You even look at TV stations and you can sometimes see the green screen effect. So North Mountain Films asked, when is ATSC 3.0 releasing? It's not necessarily releasing. The thing is, it's slowly being launched in certain markets. So certain markets that have stations owned by Sinclair and Scripps and even Nexstar, to my surprise, are involved in the launch of it. And pretty much what happened is they are trying to, if they own stations in a market, they can launch it. But if they only own one or two, it's hard to do because they need multiple stations involved. It's very complicated. And in terms of launching, it depends on your area. Certain larger markets were supposed to have it by the end of this year, but COVID screwed it up. So I could see it probably being a year in other larger markets, and then smaller markets, it can be 2, 3, 4 years before you see a station convert because there's not really an incentive to do it. There isn't much equipment. It's expensive, and it's a very new standard that most people don't know about. Besides the people on my YouTube channel, no one knows what the heck is going on. So, and there's also not much equipment. So, you go in a store, you buy a TV, it doesn't have ATSC3, so it's gotten like that. So it really depends. Pittsburgh has it. Nashville, I believe, has it. Portland has it. There's a map. I do have a video on my channel that explains what areas it's in, and there's a map on there that you can click on, and it's kind of interactive. You can click on it and see what the status is in your market. Some of it says, it's live on the air. Others say they're working on making it live. Others say they just announced it, and then no plans for some other areas. So it really depends on your area, but it's not going to happen like tomorrow. It's going to be a while, if it even takes off. There's a chance it may not take off because a lot of owned and operated stations by ABC, NBC, CBS, and Fox, they aren't launching ATSC 3.0 because um, I don't know exactly why they aren't doing it. One of the thoughts is that not enough equipment, like there's not enough demand for it. It costs money. You're going to be broadcasting to 5 people who have a Silicon Dust tuner, one being myself, and then also retransmission fees. I feel like some companies don't want to have a really good signal because that means someone can easily get it by the antenna and cut the cord, not use cable, satellite, or streaming, and then the local station owner, the company that owns the station, loses out on retransmission fees as a result. So it's hard to say. There is a chance that it may not take off. Yes, there are live broadcasts. Yes, some markets ATSC 3.0 is live in, but so was with ATSC MH. This was a standard that happened after the digital conversion about 10 years ago. It was meant for mobile phones and handheld devices like tablets. And it was the same setup we have now, where there were stations that converted, certain markets had it, and nothing ever became of it. There were a few pieces of equipment on the market, but it just became a flop because not every broadcaster cared to upgrade and broadcast to a small amount of people. It's really hard because the progress can't start, and it's like the broadcasters are waiting for the people to, they're waiting for the TV manufacturers to put in their TVs, but the TV manufacturers are waiting for the broadcasters, and the broadcasters don't want to broadcast a signal to TV. TV sets have the tuner, and TV set companies are like, no, we're not going to put in the tuners until these. So it's like a back and forth, and it almost seems pretty funny about that. I highly doubt the government will be giving coupons like they did a few years ago. The reason is because it's not a government mandate transition. The last transition, the government said they had to move, and the stations had to go digital, and so the government paid for some of the costs to go digital, and then they also paid for some of the costs for the people that needed a converter box. This transition is not government mandated; it's market mandated. So I don't see them offering coupons if they didn't cause the problem, because our government doesn't like to spend money if it doesn't have to. That's a whole other thing. But you will not need to buy a new TV to make it work. You could just you won't be able to upgrade the TV. That's not possible. You won't be able to run a software update and it works because you need an ATSC3 chipset. You will need a new tuner. And that can come in the form as like a little converter box or a little streaming stick, or it could possibly be like a USB thing that you plug in. But I feel like it would be more on HDMI. It would be an HDMI tuner, kind of like a converter box. But still going to be at least 10 years before the stations turn off their 1.0 signal, if it even takes off. A lot of people are thinking it's like the transition of 2009. It's not. It's not a government mandate transition. It's a market-based transition. So the market's going to decide if the standard is going to take off. And as I said before, it could be that the owned and operated stations by the big networks say, no, we don't want this standard because it's easy to access, and we prefer to have a crappy signal that the average person can't get. Because if they can't get our signal, they'll pay for cable and satellite, and that makes a lot of money. And the amount of, if you looked at my last video, $10 billion. $10 billion is made by local TV stations in the United States off retransmission fees on cable and satellite. This is money that's paid by the providers for the rights to rebroadcast their free over-the-air channel. So if in theory they go to this new standard and it makes it so easy to pick up, half the people drop cable and satellite, their retransmission fees are going to go down, and they don't want that. So at least some companies don't want that. So it'll be interesting to find out. It's live in some areas, but in terms of a long-term, is it there is some interest in it beyond just a better signal. I mean, if it was just a better signal, no broadcaster would want it. They would say, screw that. But there are some advantages, such as targeted ads. So, depending on who's watching, if it goes out to 1,000, signal reaches, right now, TV stations, they broadcast the same commercial, regardless of where they are or who's watching. with ATSC3, it's kind of like YouTube and like any other video platform you go on. It can tell based on what you're watching and maybe even other things, even if you don't watch things, your age group, your gender, your area, possibly your income, interest based on what you're watching. So if you watch, for example, The Price is Right, Wheel of Fortune, you watch game shows, that has a certain kind of behavior that certain advertisers may look for. And by having that ability to run targeted ads, that will definitely bring in a lot more ad revenue to TV stations. It's also beneficial because you can use a codec that's more efficient. So the you know how subchannels work, all of you. If you know, average station has one main channel and like 3 or 4 subchannels. Some may have more. Well, with the new standard, they can fit a lot more in there. They could possibly fit 10 or 20 channels if they wanted to. That's another revenue source. You know, if a station doesn't have MeTV, they could put MeTV on there and Decades and whatever sub-channel they want because they don't have to pay for it. They pay them to broadcast the channel. So again, more money going into the TV station that way. There's pluses and minuses from the broadcasting side. I think it's mostly plus, but if they get greedy and think about the retransmission fees, that's gonna be their problem, to say the least. All right, let me go read your one question, Paul. I hate how I need to use a box to get antenna. Whatever happened when they said boxless cable antenna? I like having 2 remotes. Yeah, no, I understand what you're saying with the 2 remote situation. And then also back in the day, there is no more built-in antenna. I mean, the digital signals are just way too weak. It worked back in the analog days where they used to have little loops, the built-in antennas on the TV sets. That's not really happening anymore. And the 2 remote thing, what they really should do is whenever they make a converter box or anything for that matter, a DVR, the remote should have the ability to control your TV. So it should be kind of like DirecTV. If any of you ever had DirecTV, Dish Network, or a cable provider, their remotes are made so that way you can not only control the cable box but control your TV. That's what they really should do with some converter boxes when and if ATSC 3.0 launches. So that way you don't have 2 remotes. I'm aware of the 2 remote thing. I have to use 2 remotes if I use the little DVR, the Mediasonic Homework. So I'm aware of what that's like, and it is kind of annoying because then you lose the one, and you know, I want to do this, and it's just like, why do you need 2 remotes? It should only be one. I think they do make remotes that are like special universal remotes that also work for. They also work with like things like a DVR and streaming devices. They're pretty expensive. I believe they're like 50, 60, $70. And there's no guarantee, you know, if you get like a DVR, like a cheap converter box off China, there's no guarantee that they have a code for that remote because it's not, you know, Samsung or Magnavox. It's made by some other companies and stuff like that. So yeah, that's what I agree with you on that statement. That's definitely something to you to I don't think they'll listen to me. No company listens to me. I mean, I know the market, I know what people want. No one listens to me. So I would tell the companies, do something. Hey, here's an idea that they don't listen to me. So let the company that, you know, watches my videos and figures out that's a good idea to have a, you know, a remote that works with the TV and the converter box. Let them figure it out and have the market. And you know, if someone doesn't want to listen to me, then that's their problem. Yeah, so that's it's kind of like Televis, for example. I've been telling Televis when I reviewed their preamp, I was like, listen, you got to have your products on Amazon because a lot of people search for antennas and preamps on there. And you know, I had that recent review of their T-Force preamp, and I said, you know, put it on Amazon because what's going to happen is my video is going to be seen by people and they want to watch it, and they can't not want to watch it, they want to buy it. They can't buy it because they can't find it anywhere. And sure enough, that happened. It was on Ness Electronics, but they sold out right away. They didn't have enough in stock. And I was like, I told you guys, put it on Amazon. Put it on Amazon. And then I get like 20 emails of people asking where it is. And I'm like, put it on Amazon. Do you like throwing customers out the door? Put it on Amazon. Like, because you got to have that ability to reach customers on multiple platforms. So you're asking about WJMFLP on your portable television even when you're in Capital City. It may not be on the air anymore. There are very few. I told you, I said it earlier in this video. I don't know if you caught it. There are still a few analog stations that are on the air, but most of them, even if it shows on like Wikipedia or the FCC database that they have an analog signal, they may have already converted to digital. So I'm looking up this channel right now. Yeah, no, that looks like a classic hits analog station. It should be on the air, but they're on VHF 6, which is really hard to pick up with a portable TV set. Even in the analog days when, full powered VHF stations were on the air, I had trouble getting them. You have to be like within like 5 miles of the broadcast tower to like actually pick it up. So, okay, so they are still on the air. Funny thing is, I am looking at going to Chicago and checking out their MeTV FM on VHF Channel 6. Basically the same setup that, from what I'm reading off this, it's the same exact setup where it's an analog station that's kind of marketed as a radio station because the frequency of Channel 6 happens to be on the lower end of the FM band. And I like classic hits and oldies, so it's very similar to what you have, at least what's listed in Capital City. But if they're on the air and you're not getting them with the portable tuner, I know that, again, low VHF, you need, like, if I had my TV set, I used to have a small TV set around, you need an antenna, like said, like this wide in order to get it. So if you have a small portable TV and the antenna is only this wide, that's why it's not going to come in that well. But best of luck. I mean, it is definitely cool to mess around with. So you can get it on 87.7, so they're definitely on the air. I would try to get closer to the broadcast transmitter wherever it is. It may not be. A lot of times the transmitters are not right in the city they serve. So it says Jackson, Mississippi. They may have their transmitter like in the next town over or something like that. I can't exactly tell. I'll look it up on the FCC database for you and just kind of get an idea on where it is. License cover. All right, just give me a second. I'm looking up the map of it. Because that happens a lot too, where people, you have a TV station that's licensed to serve some. So this looks like it's if you look at downtown Jackson, it's a little bit north of downtown Jackson. It's right off, it says Lakeland Drive and one I-55. It looks like I-55 and Lakeland Drive. That's where the transmitter is located. So if you're in like downtown Jackson and it looks like it's coming from the north, if you have buildings in the way, that's going to like completely block the signal. But that's one of the things I'm looking at doing. I'm looking at planning a road trip and finding these analog signals that are still on the air. Most of them are just what they're called Franken FMs. They are TV stations that operate as FM stations, and I hate to tell you this, but they are on borrowed time. The FCC is making them completely go to digital at the end of June, either the end of June or early July, so like 6 months. And there's a provision that some stations are asking to still be able to broadcast an analog signal, but I don't know if that's been approved yet. So there's a chance that station may be gone in about 6 or 7 months because they have to go digital. And I don't see why they shouldn't be allowed to have an audio carrier on 87.7 if they're broadcasting a digital carrier on the lower end of that spectrum. But FCC is stupid. They are a bunch of idiots. I think I know more about this stuff than any commissioner or any person involved in the FCC. I hate to say, at least for TV. I would like to ask a lot of those FCC commissioners. Well, can you tell me what RF channel NBC4 broadcasts on in DC? Do you know what channel broadcasts on? I bet you all of them would say 4. I bet all of them would say broadcast on channel 4. I'd say no. You're the ones who make the rules and you don't even know. Yeah, no, I do have that plan. It's just been like, so what I've been trying to do about that is there was an analog signal in Georgia. There is still one in Georgia, and it's a Spanish station, so it's not really much that I'd want to watch. Personally, I can tell you guys, it's very depressing and sad in the Northeast in terms of the COVID restrictions, and it's cold. There really isn't anything going on, and it's sad, and I really want to, if I'm going to check out, an analog broadcast and film it on an old TV, I want to do it down south where it's nice and warm. So I've been looking to find, something in Georgia or something in Florida where it's kind of warm and a little bit more vibrant than the cold, dead Northeast right now. Unfortunately, I'm not seeing that besides one. There is one station still on analog channel 4 in Atlanta. It's a Spanish station, but that doesn't. I don't know why. I've nothing wrong with anyone who speaks Spanish or something like that. But I feel like if I am watching it and I'm experiencing analog before it goes away, I want to be able to take it seriously. So, I want to see, even if it's a religious channel, I want to see someone talking to me, or in the case of Chicago, where I may go, me TV FM, so I'd be able to listen to. I think that's pretty cool because I'll be listening to great music of the '60s and '70s. And what I'm thinking of doing is I was thinking about today, getting like a hotel room in Chicago and just screwing with it because I miss that aspect. I don't know if you guys just screwing with it and getting different ghosts and it changes. It had a charm to it. It really did, and the charm is pretty much gone forever. And it's weird to enjoy something and have it be taken away forever with no way to get it back. It's very weird. We're lucky that they've lasted this long. I originally thought they were going to go off the air in 2012, but a lot of them stayed on until 2015, and then the ones that didn't convert to digital, they already did it by now. If there was a CBS, the last station I knew of that was on analog that was broadcasting something worthwhile was like a repeater on CBS in Lima, Ohio. So there was a UHF channel in analog broadcasting CBS until this year sometime. I don't remember. I don't know exactly what time. Same goes for Canada. There were a few stations in Canada that were broadcasting analog that I would have been able to get over the border in the New York, northern New York via Niagara Falls. Unfortunately, they've been shut off, so that's kind of out of the question now. Can't get that, so that's something I'm looking at doing. There are a few on Channel 6. So North Mountain Films. There's one in DC that's Spanish. There's one in Cleveland that's Spanish. It's a smart idea because it's cheaper than a radio station. You buy this low powered TV signal on Channel 6 and you market it as a radio. To give you an idea, like Me TV FM in Chicago, this is a low-powered analog FM station at the bottom of the dial. It's on VHF channel 6. It's an analog. They managed to make it in the top 10 in the ratings, in the Chicago ratings for radio stations. So that just proved that they really did well with that. They got this very small station at a pretty much nothing, and they're able to get high enough ratings to sell ads and make money like a radio station, but not have to pay $1 million for a radio station. I don't know how much they paid for it, but I can tell you a low-powered TV station is going to go for a lot less than a full-powered radio station because there is potential that it can be gone in 6 months. We don't know yet. The FCC, I saw an article, the FCC was seeking comment about in regards to if, for example, Me TV FM or what you're talking about, WJMF, to be able to still broadcast an analog audio carrier on 88.7 while keeping the digital channel. I don't know if that's been approved, and there's a lot of lobbying from NPR. NPR stations don't like it because they're at the lower end of the spectrum, and when you have like a TV channel on close to that end of the spectrum, it can interfere with the NPR stations, although NPR is everywhere, and frankly, I think they're just they're good for news, but they look out for themselves. They're pretty much propaganda for themselves. They cover stories that are certain viewpoint that would keep them getting funding, so they just feed for themselves, kind of like a vulture. But yeah, I mean, they do provide a service. I just have different opinions of it. All right, so it's been about an hour, guys. If there are any last-minute questions, let me know. But I'm probably going to wrap this stream up in the next 10 minutes, depending on what goes on. So just let me know if there's anything else you guys want to talk about, and I'll talk about it. But yeah, I do miss analog TV. Was pretty cool, and Chicago, I'm still trying to figure out how to get there. If I fly in, which is cheaper, I can't bring like an old analog TV with me. It's unfortunate. I have a TV from 1950. I don't know if it still works. It's at my dad's house, but 10 years ago it worked. It was an original, one of the very first TV models that you could buy, and it worked about 10 years ago. I don't know if it still works, but if it works, I wouldn't be able to bring that on a plane. It's giant and massive and very fragile. So I'd have to drive out to Chicago. It's about a 12-hour trip. And I was also considering the fact that I don't know if I want to drive for 12 hours just to check in at a hotel. I might split it up, spend drive 6 hours to someplace in Ohio, and then another 6 hours to Chicago. If it is 6 hours, that's what I'm guessing, 6 and 6. So yeah, I mean it's something I'm looking forward to. It's just sad that it's cold and I can't find an analog station that's in a warmer climate that's still on the air. Um, so that's funny. Okay, so yeah, that's interesting how that works sometimes. I noticed certain cable lineups don't make sense. Like they'll have so we had what was our cable lineup? Our cable lineup was weird. Basically, there would be like an NBC4 on channel 21, and then like CBS3 on channel 12. It made no sense. I mean, in the digital era, they can change that, but they don't for whatever reason. They can change the PSIP and make it, make the channels they should be like it is on DirecTV. But they're lazy, so they just keep it as channel one, two. Well, not channel one, channel two, three, four, five, six, and they don't always line up with the channel, that it should be. Just go like in the digital transition where TV stations don't necessarily broadcast on a channel number you know them as. I'm just checking the Patreon to see if there's any comments on there. So if you ever see me look down, it's mainly to just kind of look and see if there's any new comments on that post. Nah, it looks like I'm good. Don't think I got any new comments. So. All right. Well, if there's no more questions, I'll go conclude this live stream. I greatly appreciate those of you for watching and those of you watching on the replay. Hopefully, you got something good out of this. I'm sorry I had to spend like a little bit of time troubleshooting and figuring out if I was actually on and buffering and stuff like that. I'm gonna look back at this and see how it turned out, technical wise and all of that. But I thank you guys for tuning in. Paul, North Mountain Films, who else was on here? John, and also Michael. Thanks for watching. And yeah, I'll have a video up this week on the VHF antenna, so stay tuned for that. You guys will get to see it a day early before anyone else. That's also a benefit because if the antenna, sometimes the antennas sell out after I post it on the main channel. So for some reason you want it, you have a better advantage by getting it seeing it a day early compared to most other people. So, all right, I'll talk to you guys soon. I'll let you know about the next live stream, and thanks again for watching.